This documentary, Atomic Shot, tells the story of the United States Army Air Force's role in the nuclear tests at Bikini Atoll during July 1946. The tests involved the detonation, or shots, of two atomic devices, Able and Baker, the fourth and fifth atomic detonations ever. The Army Air Forces were in a joint task force with the U.S. Navy. The role of the Army Air Forces, soon to become the United States Air Force, was to record on film the dropping of a shot from the air and of a radio-controlled shot submerged in the water. Tasked for this, the greatest photographic project in history, was the Army Air Force's Air Photo Unit, Task Group 152. This documentary, drawn from the group's original materials, tells the story of the people who served in this historic project in their words and their images. In February of 1946, members of the Army Air Forces and selected civilians alike had employed practically every means of transportation in making the trip to Roswell, New Mexico, to start preparing for Operation Crossroads, also known as Joint Task Force 1, and for the Army Air Force's involvement, Task Group 15. This would be the detonation of atomic devices for scientific purposes in the South Pacific's Bikini Lagoon. These detonations, or shots, would be in the center of an array of naval vessels. These men were beginning to gather from across the country at Roswell Army Airfield, the point chosen for preliminary training, for it would be the Army Air Forces that would drop one of these shots. Roswell was a small, typical southwestern town sitting in the center of a seemingly endless dusty plain. Because of its unique appearance, the town created the illusion of an old-time settlement, even though it was quite modern. Locals who dressed in their native costumes added further color to the scene. As part of Task Group 15, an air photo unit was developed to record these atomic shots on film. As the months progressed, so did other units. Probably the most difficult of all was the formation of a B-17 drone unit. This unit was to operate pilotless, four-motor planes that would fly through the atomic cloud, collecting radioactive specimens which would be analyzed by scientists. By March, rehearsal missions were being scheduled frequently, mostly over the Las Lunas bombing range near Albuquerque. A further rehearsal mission, duplicating all conditions expected to be found over Bikini, was staged 200 miles off the San Diego coast. Results of Zebra mission were highly satisfactory, as movie cameras and the oblique aerial cameras not only picked up the falling bomb and the blast, but also showed a complete record of the dissipating smoke. While the organization was being perfected at Roswell, vast preparations for the arrival of Task Group 15 and its units were being made on Kwajalein, an island 225 miles southeast of Bikini. Even though Kwajalein had been occupied during the war, certain construction was required there so it could serve as a base for the B-29 bomb carrier and various large aircraft, plus other necessary facilities. Back at Roswell, as the initial training period was advancing to completion, the first mass movement of men, an advance echelon, proceeded to Kwajalein. 44 men and 2 officers from the Air Photo Unit set off. Soon after, the remainder of enlisted men, officers, and civilians began leaving Roswell for Kwajalein. Some left by Green Hornet, that is, the air transport line. Most were carried by the transport vessel christened USS George Clymer, but more commonly known as Greasy George. The monotonous trip took 2 weeks to complete. The men occupied themselves with music, reading, and sleeping. They were quite happy when at long last they were able to clamber down the landing nets and into the LCT for the short trip from George to the shore.